When you're a reality star, you're so used to being able, you have a camera around you all the time, but when you have that kind of power and everything, I'm going to edit this.
So look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip hop is fine with his behavior.
50 Cent has just leaked the final clip that Netflix refused to air, and the moment this footage surfaced, Diddy reportedly begged the judge for mercy. Tonight, we're breaking down the clip Netflix tried to bury, the reactions they didn't want you to see, and why this single leak has sent shockwaves through the entire case.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Watch carefully because the hidden truth is finally coming out. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, do you think Netflix hid this clip to protect someone or to protect the entire documentary? And if you're ready for the truth they tried to bury, make sure you subscribe to the hidden evidence so you never miss the updates Netflix and Hollywood don't want you to see. Let's get back to the story. The moment 50 Cent dropped the clip, the internet didn't just react, it ignited. No countdown, no teaser, no context. Just a raw, unfiltered video file with one chilling description. Netflix refused to air this. And in seconds, the entire narrative around the documentary shifted. What was supposed to be a polished, controlled, carefully edited series suddenly had a rogue piece of evidence out in the wild. A clip that wasn't reviewed, wasn't sanitized, and wasn't censored by Netflix's legal team. The clip begins completely silent, not the kind of silence you hear in a studio, but the cold, uncomfortable silence of a handheld camera someone forgot to cut. There's a faint, static hum, like the microphone is straining to pick up sound from a room it shouldn't be in. Then slowly, a blurred figure walks into frame. Not confidently, not rehearsed. More like someone caught off guard. Someone who didn't know the camera was running. What makes the opening instantly suspicious is the framing. It's not the clean, documentary-style shot Netflix used in the final cut. This is raw, surveillance-style positioning. The person's face isn't fully shown, but their posture, shape, and movement match the unnamed individual repeatedly referenced throughout the documentary, the one production insiders claimed could not legally be shown. And yet here they are, clearly visible, clearly talking, clearly captured on video. But that's just the beginning. As the figure settles, the audio spikes. A conversation is happening off camera. Not scripted, not guided, but genuine. You can hear tension in the tone, a quiet panic, someone pacing, someone giving instructions that sound less like a discussion and more like damage control. It becomes clear that this clip was recorded during a critical moment, a moment Netflix deliberately removed from the final documentary, a moment that could restructure the entire timeline. And that's when people started asking the question Netflix hoped no one would ever ask, what else did they cut out? Once viewers realized this wasn't just an unused shot, but a hidden scene, analysts began pulling apart every frame. Freeze frame edits compared the shadows, the room layout, even the grain of the walls to match known properties associated with Diddy's circle. And almost instantly, the internet became convinced that this clip wasn't cut for pacing or clarity, it was cut for protection. Someone didn't want this out. Someone didn't want this audio heard. Someone wanted this moment erased. And that theory gained even more weight once audio specialists cleaned up the background. Beneath the hum, beneath the static, beneath the distortion, another voice emerges, a voice giving instructions that completely contradict the polished Netflix version. In the documentary, the official narrative was streamlined, careful, almost diplomatic in tone. But in the leaked clip, the tone is panicked, urgent, almost like something had just gone wrong and they were scrambling to fix it. One insider described the original clip as the moment everything changed, not metaphorically, literally. They believe this scene shifted the direction of the events that followed. And when Netflix removed it, they also removed the context that explained why the following decisions were made. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces everyone thought they understood didn't fit anymore. For months, rumors circulated online about the missing scene, a piece of footage allegedly locked inside Netflix's internal vault. Most people dismissed it as internet exaggeration until now. 50 Cent didn't just hint at it, he dropped it, publicly, intentionally, and with a message that felt less like a post and more like a warning. They hid this for a reason. And here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Hours after the clip spread across social media, reports began surfacing that Diddy's legal team had requested an immediate closed-door meeting with the judge. Eyewitnesses claimed that Diddy arrived visibly stressed, speaking in a tone completely different from his usual confident courtroom demeanor. According to one source, he wasn't arguing, he was pleading. Not for victory, but for leniency. Why would a single leaked clip trigger such a reaction? Why would a man who has denied every allegation suddenly shift into a position that resembled desperation? The answer might be hidden in the final moments of the leaked footage. As the silhouetted figure finishes speaking, the camera captures a short, unintended reflection on a glass surface. It's blurry, but analysts pointed out something alarming. It looks like paperwork-specific documents on a table with highlighted sections. And while you can't read everything, a few words are painfully clear. Coordination. Involved, risk. If those papers are what people believe they are, then this clip isn't just a missing scene, it's evidence. Evidence that could rewrite the entire narrative Netflix presented. Evidence that could explain Diddy's sudden shift in strategy. Evidence that could prove Netflix knew far more than they revealed. And once this theory hit the internet, the clip transformed from a curiosity into a bombshell. Critics demanded transparency. Fans accused Netflix of hiding material. Investigators began examining the timeline with fresh eyes. And legal experts warned that if the clip is authenticated in court, it could open doors that certain people hoped would stay locked forever. All of this within hours of 50 Cent pressing post. And right at the center of the chaos stands Diddy, reportedly shaken, reportedly emotional, and according to multiple sources, begging the judge for mercy. The shockwave from the leaked footage didn't end with public reaction. It traveled straight into the halls of Netflix itself. For months, whispers floated online about internal disagreements, heated editing debates, and legal concerns surrounding the documentary. But no one understood the scale of the conflict until this moment. The leaked clip didn't just expose what Netflix removed, it exposed why they fought to keep it hidden. Inside Netflix's post-production team, this scene had reportedly become the point of maximum tension. Editors argued that the footage was raw, unpolished, and potentially dangerous to include without heavy legal review. Producers countered that removing it would compromise the integrity of the timeline. But then came the legal department, the group with the final say. Their position was simple and chilling. This scene is a liability. Not because it was unclear, not because it was weak filmmaking, but because it revealed too much too directly. According to sources close to the production, the moment the silhouetted figure spoke in that panicked tone, a warning flag went up. The legal team feared that the content hinted at undisclosed involvement, off-the-record actions, and conversations that could implicate people far beyond Diddy himself. There were concerns that once the footage aired, it might ignite a new legal front one Netflix wasn't willing to risk. And this is where the internal split grew deeper. Some members of the editorial board argued that transparency was the point of a documentary. They believed the audience deserved to see the raw truth, no matter how uncomfortable it was. But the network executives analyzing the potential fallout believed otherwise. There were conversations quiet, behind closed doors about the reputational risk, the potential lawsuits, the corporate partnerships at stake. Removing the clip wasn't just an editorial decision. It was a business strategy. The tension became so intense that several staff members reportedly refused to work on the final cut until the debate was resolved. But ultimately, the lawyers won. The scene was flagged, sealed, and marked not approved for release. But here's where things take a darker turn. Insiders claim Netflix didn't just remove the footage, they softened the surrounding scenes to redirect the viewer's perception. Key dialogues were trimmed, transitions were adjusted, and references to the silhouetted figure were diluted to minimize suspicion. The documentary wasn't just edited, it was reconstructed. And when you compare the sanitized Netflix version with 50 Cent's leaked footage, the contrast is jarring. In the Netflix cut, the tone is measured and structured. The chaos appears controlled. The responses appear thoughtful. But in the leaked clip, the real clip, the tone is frantic. The energy is unstable. It feels like the moment something was about to collapse, and everyone in the room knew it. This difference didn't go unnoticed. Analysts began lining the two timelines side by side, pointing out inconsistencies that suddenly made sense only after the leak. Why was a certain reaction placed earlier in the documentary? Why was a crucial detail omitted? Why did the narrative move so quickly past a particular event? The answer, now obvious, was that Netflix was patching holes created by removing the scene, and the public backlash hit fast. Comment sections across every platform flooded with accusations. Viewers wondered if Netflix had intentionally shielded individuals with influence. Others suggested the company prioritized brand safety over truth. Investigators began reevaluating previous statements with the leaked footage as a reference point. Even media watchdogs demanded clarification about the editing choices. But perhaps the most interesting reaction came not from the public, but from people inside the industry. Several producers and former Netflix employees speaking anonymously admitted they weren't surprised by the removal. They claimed similar decisions had been made in past high-profile projects, where legal exposure outweighed narrative authenticity. One quote stood out more than any other. "Netflix likes the truth until the truth becomes expensive." And that line became the spark that reignited the conversation. If the removed clip was so dangerous that it required legal intervention, what exactly was Netflix protecting? Was it Diddy? Was it someone connected to the production? Or was it themselves trying to avoid becoming part of an investigation that was rapidly gaining momentum? As these questions spread online, the pressure on Netflix intensified. Calls for transparency grew louder. Viewers demanded the uncut documentary. Activists argued that withholding evidence in a case this public was unethical. And slowly, the narrative began shifting away from Diddy alone and toward the platform that published the story. But while Netflix was scrambling, someone else was watching the chaos unfold with a different kind of urgency: Diddy's legal team. Because the more people analyzed the leaked clip, the more dangerous it became for Diddy's case. Suddenly, the narrative he had built, the calm, confident stance he projected, was shattered. The leaked footage contradicted the story, contradicted the tone, and contradicted the timeline. And that's when the legal team reportedly began drafting an emergency mitigation strategy. Behind closed doors, they knew something the public didn't. If this clip enters the courtroom, it changes everything. It reframes intent. It reframes knowledge. It reframes involvement. And that brings us to the final, most explosive layer, the moment Diddy's courtroom behavior shifted from confidence to desperation. As the leaked clip spread like wildfire, the courtroom atmosphere around Diddy changed overnight. What had previously been a calculated defense strategy, measured statements, calm posture, confident appearances suddenly collapsed under the weight of a video he couldn't control. The moment the footage went public, the legal temperature in the room shifted. Reporters described Diddy's next court arrival as tense, unsteady, and even uncharacteristically shaken. And the reason became clear the moment the judge entered. For weeks, Diddy's team fought aggressively, dismissing allegations, challenging evidence, and projecting unwavering certainty. But sources inside the courtroom say the leaked clip immediately became the shadow hanging over every conversation. Attorneys were whispering. Court officers were exchanging glances. Even the judge reportedly paused longer than usual before speaking, as if acknowledging the gravity of the moment. Then came the shift no one expected. Instead of the typical assertive tone, Diddy's lawyers requested a private, off-the-record meeting. According to individuals familiar with what happened behind those closed doors, the judge agreed, but only briefly. And once they entered the chamber, everything changed. Gone was the confident facade the public had come to recognize. In its place was a man visibly overwhelmed, pacing, wiping his face, unable to maintain the composed image he had spent months showcasing. One insider described it as the most emotional moment we've ever seen from him in a legal setting. And then came the words that stunned everyone who heard them. Instead of fighting, instead of denying, Diddy reportedly shifted to pleading, asking the judge for understanding, leniency, and time. Not because of what was already in the courtroom, but because of what was now circulating outside it. One remark allegedly left the room silent. "This changes everything. Please consider the full context." It was the closest thing to desperation that anyone had ever witnessed from him. The leak had done more than damage public perception. It had pierced the legal armor his team had built. Prosecutors now had fresh angles to explore. Timelines could be questioned, motives could be reinterpreted, and if the leaked clip was authenticated, it could potentially expand the scope of the case far beyond its current boundaries. As news outlets replayed the leaked footage, analysts began pointing out the invisible impact. Every new view, every new breakdown, every new speculation added pressure on the court to take the footage seriously. The legal team understood that. Diddy understood that. And that's why, according to multiple reports, he pleaded directly with the judge, asking for mercy in a way that signaled something deeper, a fear of what might come next. Because the leaked clip wasn't just damaging, it was destabilizing. It reopened conversations. It reignited suspicion. It introduced questions the defense wasn't prepared to answer. Investigators hinted that the reflection of documents in the clip, the ones that appeared to show highlighted sections referencing coordination, involvement, and risk, could prompt entirely new lines of inquiry. And if those documents were linked to the events surrounding the case, the courtroom would be forced to revisit segments of the investigation that many believed were already settled. That possibility alone would explain Diddy's reported emotional breakdown. When he walked back into the courtroom after the private meeting, observers noticed a visible change. His shoulders were lower, his eyes downcast, his movements slower. The man who once projected power now seemed consumed by uncertainty. The leak had stripped away control, and for someone in his position, losing control is often the most devastating blow. But what made the moment truly historic was what followed. The judge, acknowledging the public firestorm, announced that the court would evaluate the leaked footage's relevance. And instantly the room shifted. Gasps, whispers, a sudden electricity, as if everyone realized simultaneously. The clip Netflix refused to air may now become evidence. And that's where everything stands a turning point. A fracture in the narrative, a moment where the truth begins forcing its way into the light. If 50 Cent's leak is authentic, if the audio is verified, if the papers in the reflection match existing documents, then this isn't just a leak. This is the key that unlocks an entirely new chapter of the case. A chapter that Diddy's reaction already foreshadows panic, desperation, and a plea for mercy that may have come far too late. Before you go, tell me in the comments, do you think this leaked clip will actually make it into the courtroom? And if you want every hidden twist, every buried detail, and every update they don't want you to see, make sure you subscribe to The Hidden Evidence. This story is only just beginning.